They get the entire month of June. How many holidays do they require? Seriously, how many days are we supposed to honor a particular group of people that the accomplishment that we are supposed to be honoring, celebrating, letting them take pride in is not about something that they've done or accomplished for the betterment of mankind, but basically about who it is they choose to have sexual relations with. That's it. And apparently, President Joe Biden decided to join and endorse that depravity on Easter.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. This is the Afternoon Drive. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That'll give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Then, like and share this video. That's the way that we get the word out that we're here. The more likes we get, it does factor in to an algorithm, supposedly. But if you will take the link to this video and post it on your social media platforms, that's how we can really spread the word that we're here. Thank you so much for your help. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. One of the issues that people of faith have when participating in politics is understanding that the people we support, the people that we endorse, the people that we promote do not always line up with our personal faith and values when it comes to spiritual matters, religious matters, biblical matters, however you want to categorize it. For example, I can tell you that in 2016, I came out right in the very beginning, right after that famous escalator ride at Trump Tower, and I endorsed Donald Trump. And I had pastor friends from around the country saying, "What are you doing? This guy is a womanizer. This guy, owns nightclubs. This guy has made his wealth in a way that certainly does not line up with our faith and values." I understood that, and I told all of them, I am not voting for a pastor. I'm voting for a president. And I said his policies and the things that he wants to do for America are right for America. And I said, you're going to find out he's going to be a great ally to people of traditional faith and values. And I was proven right on that. One of the biggest things that he did that the evangelical community has all but forgotten is the fact that he overrode the Johnson Amendment. The Johnson Amendment, signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, was basically this statement that if you were a church, a pastor, a non-for-profit, you could not endorse a candidate. You could come out and you could stand up or speak out on certain issues, but you could in no way endorse candidates. Well, I used to get around that even when I was pastoring in New York. I would say, I've been told I can't endorse a candidate, but it doesn't say I can't unendorse a candidate, and I would unendorse, candidates that needed to be unendorsed. But you always knew that was never applied equally. Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, they could come out and spew their political views, and they were never called on the carpet over the Johnson Amendment. But let someone from the conservative Christian right, a Jerry Falwell, etc., come out and speak, and immediately the libloons would go ballistic, have a meltdown, and they would want to enact the Johnson Amendment, and try to, bring litigation against their ministries and sue them and remove their tax-exempt status, etc., etc., etc. The reason that was never done is, number one, for the most part, there was a time in this country when even liberal courts really they didn't want to mess with the church. They didn't want that headache. They knew enough to know, stay away. I am certain that is not the case today, as we see certain cases being played out on television before our very eyes. But President Trump did away with the Johnson Amendment so that we can speak politically free. And a lot of those pastors that first got on me about Donald Trump really did eventually get on the Trump train, and they're there now because they understand that even though he was personally flawed, the policies that he had were right for the country. And the policies were fairly traditional. And he had kind of a libertarian way of dealing with certain things that we within the Christian faith, we find personally to be sinful and we should not participate in. But we understood that as a nation as a whole, President Trump kind of took the attitude, well, as long as what you're doing is not illegal and isn't harming anyone else, you go do you. Do it privately. We don't need it paraded down Main Street in front of 5-year-olds. Just go somewhere and do it privately. And you know, police won't be kicking your doors in and hauling you off to jail for doing that. But don't expect the rest of us to join in the celebration with you. We kind of understood that that's the way things operate. There's a difference between that and a man like Donald Trump, who himself has had, you know, multiple sexual encounters with multiple women. There's a difference between that and a candidate that comes out and endorses and supports outright depravity, which finds itself in complete opposition to the Word of God. I've been saying for years, I don't understand how people can call themselves Christians and vote for candidates that are for abortion on demand. Now, I do understand that abortion is a hot button issue, and there is nothing more that the Democrats and Joe Biden would love to do is make abortion a big ticket issue here in 2024 because they got nothing else to run on. And they did run on it effectively during the midterms. And President Trump has got the right approach on this. Look, we understand that abortion is, to some factor, going to be legal. And what we have to do is say, all right, we got to get realistic, though, about how long it's legal. I think he said, you know, up to 15 weeks. And then after that, yeah, no, unless the mother's life is legitimately in danger. You know, an outright ban on all abortion, that's never going to pass. And I know a lot of my Christian friends don't want to hear that. It's never going to pass, and it is going to rip and divide and devour and keep the candidates that we need from getting into office if that's the position they take. It is where the vast majority of the country, where the world is at. Doesn't mean I endorse it. I'm certainly not going to seek that procedure. But it is where the people are at. Joe Biden, when he was still vice president, if you remember back in your history, there was the Protection of Marriage Act that came up under the Bush administration. And then, you know, Barack Obama didn't really try to do away with it or override it. Even Hillary Rodham Clinton said, you know, thought that same-sex couples ought to have the same rights and privileges as married couples, but not be given the title of married, that they could have, same-sex unions or something to that effect, but not an actual marriage. And it was on a Sunday talk show. Joe Biden was asked, he was then vice president, hey, do you think gay couples should have the right to get married? He said, absolutely. I mean, Barack Obama, his boss, the president, hadn't even said that yet. Joe Biden did. And once Joe Biden did, then Barack Obama came out and said, you know, my vice president got ahead on this one. And you know what? I think he's right. I think, and it was Joe Biden who then put the pressure on. And of course, it ended up before SCOTUS, and SCOTUS handed down that, yes, it was constitutionally the right of same-sex couples to get married. Now, again, this is where I'm going to get a little theological on you, because the Bible teaches what the Bible teaches, but Romans 1 makes it absolutely clear how God feels about this subject. And I can tell you, it's not in any way positive. God has an issue with this particular form of behavior and lifestyle. But most Christians today, because it has now been the law of the land for the past several years, most Christians today kind of, again, they take that same libertarian policy that, look, you want to go do you, just don't parade it down Main Street. You know, we don't want to see gay pride parades in front of our children where you're engaging in all forms of activity out in the open in broad daylight in front of minors. Please just don't do that. And that's kind of been the stalemate, the dividing line. Then a whole new controversy has come up during the Biden administration. Isn't it amazing which administrations, depravity goes to new levels, or I should say new lows. And it has been this just transgender barrage of propaganda. And should kids be given hormone blockers? And when you start having even liberals coming out saying, what are we doing? These are children. We don't know what the long-term effects are. And children change their minds. What they want to be today, they change tomorrow. I mean, it's sad when it was Bill Maher who was actually kind of the voice of reason on all of this.
And finally, new rule: if something about the human race is changing at a previously unprecedented rate, we have to at least discuss it. All the babies are in the wrong bodies? Was there a mix-up at the plant, like with Captain Crunch's Oops, All Berries? It wasn't that long ago when adults asked a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? They meant, what profession? It's trendy. Penis equals man. Okay, boomer. Remember, the prime directive of every teen is anything to shock and challenge the squares who brought you up. The LA Times summarizes, she's come to believe that some children identifying as trans are falling under the influence of their peers and social media. If you attend a small dinner party of typically very liberal upper-income Angelenos, it is not uncommon to hear parents who each have a trans kid having a conversation about that. What are the odds of that happening in Youngstown, Ohio? If this spike in trans children is all natural, why is it regional? Either Ohio is shaming them or California is creating them. I'm sure the vast majority of parents do not take this lightly, and that it's very hard to know when something is real or just a phase. And I understand being trans is different, it's innate. But kids do also have phases. They're kids, it's all phases. The dinosaur phase, the Hello Kitty phase. One day they want to be an astronaut, the next day you can't get them to leave their room. Gender fluid, kids are fluid about everything. If kids knew what they wanted to be at age 8, the world would be filled with cowboys and princesses. I wanted to be a pirate. Thank God nobody took me seriously and scheduled me for eye removal and peg leg surgery.
So, on Saturday of the holiest weekend of the year for people of the Christian faith, Joe Biden, President of the United States, issued a presidential proclamation that Sunday, March the 31st, would be Transgender Visibility Day. With Houston, we have a problem. That's Easter. Now, immediately, the trans community is going to push back and say, well, hold it, time out. We have been using March 31st as Transgender Visibility Day for the past 9 years. This year, Easter just happened to fall on that day. But it did fall on that day. And the president didn't have to issue that proclamation, but he did, incensing even liberals who happen to be religious. Which brings me around to this question: how can you vote for people who promote policies that are in direct violation to this thing that you say you believe? I'm sorry. The Bible's clear. God created male and female created he them. He wasn't confused about it. And I understand that there are people that have gender dysphoria and need help and need counseling and need to work through that. And what adults decide to do when they are of age, they are accountable before themselves and before God for it. And I don't necessarily need to get involved in all that. But when you start going after children, when you start letting biological males compete against females in high school level sports and college sports, and these young ladies are now denied opportunities for athletic scholarships and for achievement because we've allowed somebody like a Dylan Mulvaney to pretend to be whatever it is that he's pretending to be, that is an absolute parody, a mockery of womanhood, and we uphold him as this ideal, and we call him female of the year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What about where are you feminists on that? The women that have really worked to try to establish the fact that women are smart and intelligent and capable, and here you have Dylan Mulvaney prancing around like a Barbie doll on steroids and an airhead and a dipwad, and this is the thing that you want to now stake your legacy and defend. And Obama Biden takes the most sacred day and makes that proclamation. Well, again, the trans people were already doing it before, Easter just happened to fall on that day. Why do I have this feeling that if yesterday was Ramadan, Obama Biden would make no such proclamation? Because I could tell you how the Islamic faith feels about members of the LGBTQ community, how they feel about gender dysphoria or gender visibility or transgender visibility. I can promise you they're not for it, and they really have a 4th century mentality of how you deal with it. When they catch people of this nature within their society, within their culture, they take them up on top of buildings and throw them off to the pavement below. And I'm not kidding. We know Obama Biden would have never made that proclamation had it been any other religion's day. And this goes to the heart of the matter, that the extreme libloons, these radical mindset, they are anti-Christian, they are anti-traditional values, and how can you as a Christian vote for that? How can you vote for that? We're not talking about his personal behavior. We're talking about his endorsement of a behavior that is in 100% disagreement and opposite of faith and values of the Word of God. How can you vote for that? And then how can you call yourself a Christian after having voted for that?